Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me in today's webinar. Bit of an unusual date and time for our usual webinar series. Had a lot of folks sign up though, so I'm not sure if that's because it's a good date and time or if it was just a particularly interesting topic, maybe a little bit of both. Today's topic for our Goalline webinar is all about managing your website. So we're going to dive into a few different things related to both the gold and silver layout of your Goalline website. We'll basically cover kind of the differences in managing the two and then focus a lot on how you're going to create content because that's going to be pretty much the same regardless of which layout that you're using. We're going to wait a moment or so for some more folks to get themselves connected. And meanwhile, I'll give my usual housekeeping stuff. This webinar is being recorded. So whether you're watching live or whether you signed up and you plan on watching it later, as soon as it's over, you will receive an email with a recording of the webinar. We also place our recorded webinars on our Goalline YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and look for Goalline, you'll find that we have a YouTube channel with all kinds of our past webinars, the webinar series that we've been doing for about 2 years now. You'll find just about any topic relevant to the Goalline platform on our YouTube channel. You will also notice that you don't have any audio options to speak throughout the webinar, but there is a chat. So if you do have any questions as we're going through things, feel free to drop a question in the chat. If I'm able to answer it right away, we'll get to it, or I will let you know that we'll come to it at some point during today's webinar. And if there's a question that either isn't relevant or not able to be answered right away, we'll go ahead and look to reach out to you after the webinar. So without further ado, let's get started. We are going to talk about managing your website. I've got a brand new demo website created here that we are going to start from scratch. But before we start managing anything in our control panel, I want to just show the difference between the two layouts. You've probably seen my demo site before if you've seen any of our training material. This is my Northeast Athletic Officials Association demo site that I've been using for about 10 years now. I like this gold layout because I do enjoy the custom background and banner, and I like the simplicity of the template. I am fully in control of the menu items that are here. So we see our top menu, and this is divided into the first row and then the second row. So the first row on a gold layout allows for a drop-down menu. When I hover over, if there are any items to drop down, it will automatically open that drop-down. On the gold layout, items that are placed in your second menu row do not have an inherent dropdown that you'll see right away. However, if you do create subpages, I'm just going to click on About NEAOA and notice how the subpages that are all in this hover over drop down are also listed in the left menu over here. If I have subpages associated with any of the items placed in my top menu second row, they will still show here as subpages. So this is a great thing to understand when it comes to how you want to organize information for folks who are coming to your website to find that information. Some things are going to require a drop down, like About is a web page I always recommend that you create because it allows you to tuck in a lot of different things that are either standard menu settings, such as your venue listing, your email sign up, your news article archive, things like that, that are just kind of generic information that is good to have in your menu, but not necessarily taking up space in the menu itself. Having an About page also allows you to have that kind of landing page where you can have additional information about your organization. A lot of folks will put things like their mission statements and vision on an About page, as well as some maybe contact information. And it just allows you to really place your own content or any standard menu items under that page. And we'll get to how we're going to manage that down the road here. When I click on the banner of my website, it is going to take me back to the home page. And so further down the home page here, there's some elements that we'll look at here. This is the scrolling game center. This is enabled and disabled by the support team if you are using the gold layout. This is also available on the silver layout, but we'll look at how you disable that yourself if you ever wanted to. Your front page news slider really is the primary focus of the gold layout's home page. Having news articles with photos and summaries and article captions here is kind of how you make the site pop with content. And the more content you create, the more you have to scroll through here. So this is your front page news slider. If you don't include an image with your news article, you will see a Goalline logo, just like this one here. So if you don't include an image, it is going to provide an image, and it's just going to be a default Goalline image. So it is always recommended to use an image just so that it's more eye-catching. And it also is a good idea maybe to create a generic graphic for use with news articles for your organization, just for consistency's sake. Down below our news articles or news slider, we have 3 callout boxes, and on the gold layout, it is always 3 callout boxes, and they are located exactly in this placement. They don't change in their shape or size, but they are configurable as far as what you want in them. What I have right now is a couple of RSS feeds in my middle and right callout. And so what this is doing is pulling in news articles from another website. So I'm following another organization. If I click on this news article, it takes me to that news article, and it happens to be an RSS feed from another Goalline website. RSS feeds are something that you can typically find if your governing body or a media outlet that you follow has an RSS feed that you can follow. You can use that RSS URL, and we'll look at how you do that shortly. So 2 RSS feeds here. And then this one over here is another really popular one, but you could have things in here like upcoming games, recent results, upcoming events, and so on. This one is image upload with text. So the image is whatever image I choose, and the text that I put here is what's going to show up there. I don't have to include text if I don't want to. A lot of folks will use image upload with text, but create a graphic that actually has the words embedded on it. And that's really nice because it just kind of rolls things together, and it makes it look a little bit more custom and makes things look a little bit more like a button as opposed to clearly being a hyperlink. When you're using the gold layout, your image upload with text is able to be linked to any of your standard items. And we will take a look at the site configuration tool that allows you to manage that once we look into the back end here. Below that, we're just going to see up to 10 of our recent headlines. As you have more and more news articles, they just drop off, and they are always going to be part of your news archive. Along the right side column here, the first thing that we have is ad space, and you may or may not be part of Goalline's national ad program. So in addition to an ad that you can create, you may see a Google Ad Choice ad over here. If that's the case, chances are your ads are going to be placed above that. And so you can create ads that are placed on the home page that would go in this space right here. If you do create more than one ad for those spaces, you would just have, and they're all placed in the same space, they're going to share their time. So one of the things that I often recommend is to create enough ads of the same type, like duplicate the same ad, so that you can give certain ads more face time on the site than others. And there's also an auto rotator that's available. If that's not available to you and you're interested in that, reach out to support and we can turn that on. But otherwise, what happens is as I come to this page, each time I come to the page, it's going to rotate through all of the ads that I have created. Every time I come, it's going to show me something just slightly different. And then based on however many ads I have scrolling through there, it's going to show me some more often than others. Other items we can place in this column are going to be all kinds of things related to your schedule. So upcoming games and practices, today's games, latest scores, recent results, all that kind of stuff. Those are some modules that you're going to be able to enable and disable through the site configuration tool. So that's essentially the gold layout. As you start navigating through things, there are some very, very slight differences with how you navigate to leagues and teams. I'll try to relate this back when we look at standard menu settings, but I selected divisions here and selected hockey. And because I have a multi-sport organization, my hockey division has a bunch of divisions that are specifically hockey. And they're all listed here in this left menu for me. If I have a different kind of layout, it's gonna show that just a little bit differently by flying out, and I'll show you that in just a moment. When I select one of these divisions here, it's gonna take me to whatever I've designated the landing page to be, which is either going to be league news or league standings. With teams, it can either be team news or team schedule. So depending on what you have going on, you can make some preferences there. So when I select one of my rep teams as opposed to one of my leagues where I manage the standings, I can select the team here, and it will show me my team schedule. These defaults can be updated. So now I'm going to hop over and we're going to look at Trevor Scott's demo site over here. Trevor is one of our sales reps for Goalline. If you've had a chance to talk to him, I'm sure you enjoyed your conversations with Trevor. Trevor updates his website here really, really frequently. Using the silver layout, it is really easy to update your web page really quickly and easily, and you can change a lot more than you can change about the gold layout. A common misconception is that gold is better than silver, or and silver is better than gold. They're really not better than each other. They're just very, very different. We've labeled the gold one as gold because it does include custom design work where our professional design team is going to create a graphic for the background and incorporate your logos and colors into your banner in a very, very custom way. So it just creates this very professional looking site with our professional design team. The silver layout is entirely self-serve. The only thing we do for you on the silver layout to get you started is we do configure your logo to properly display in the silver layout, and we adjust your color scheme accordingly to make sure that the red is exactly the right kind of red. But after that, you're able to update things on this site a lot more flexibly than you can with the gold layout. We still have a lot of the same concepts. When I click on the logo, this is the home page button. So no matter where I am, if I click on this about page here, if I click back on the logo, it's going to take me right back to that home page. I still have my menus that I can configure over here. It's still top menu, first row and second row. The difference here is that the second row can show a hover over drop down menu. And then as we hover over items that may have more than one more than one sub menu, they fly out a second time. So this is just a little bit different than navigating on my demo site. When I selected divisions and hockey, I would select from the left menu which one I want. So here it shows me my division listing, and then it flies out if there happens to be more than one in any of those given divisions. I think that basketball might be the only one we've got more than one here. Once I'm in a division menu, oh, that's was a registration form apparently. Let's see here. Oh, that was registration. So there we go. All right. Once I'm in the league menu, this one's landing me on league news. And then I can also navigate to the different league menu items using the menu button that shows up here. But whatever relevant items are available for this league are available right here for me to click on, including accessing specific team schedules instead of just the overall league schedule, which would happen if I click on the schedule button here. So let's go back to the home page here, because the real flexibility of the silver layout is a lot to do with, sorry, my computer's having some memory issues here today. I'm going a little slow. The flexibility of the silver layout allows you to change your background image here or your featured image as frequently as you want. It also allows you to create news articles, but you don't necessarily need a photo to go with them. Your silver layout, because the news articles are superimposed over your background image, we don't also display an image there. You can create ads as well. If you have an ad space available here, you can create an ad that can go there. And just like with the gold layout, any multiple ads placed in the same location are just going to share their time as folks are visiting the site. Scrolling down here, we can see that the scrolling game center is present here as well. We have these callout boxes here, and this is 4 callout boxes, but this could be updated to be 2, 3, or 4. Below that, there are 4 modules here in this particular case, but I'm going to show you in the back end here how this could actually be 8 smaller modules that go in here instead of 4 larger modules. Really, it's a matter of preference and how much content you have to actually display. On the right side column here, we have 3 options, 3 modules that can be filled with anything you want as well. And I'm going to show you the drag and drop system that's used to put information into these boxes. But all kinds of things are available, anything from communication and schedule tools to statistics tools as well. In addition to image upload with text, which is what Trevor's used here to configure these items. One of the biggest differences, I think, when it comes to the callout boxes is that the link does not have to be within your Goalline site. It doesn't have to be one of your Goalline pages or a standard item. It can actually be any URL that you type. So if you have a store that you want to link to, or a sponsor that you want to link to, or a governing body website, you can do that by inserting an image and inserting whatever URL you'd like. So that's a quick overview of the public side of both of those layouts. I'm going to show you really quickly here so that we can see how easily it is how easy it is, sorry, to create this kind of layout, starting from something that looks like this. So this is a brand new demo site that I created just the other day, and it has not had a single thing done to it as far as managing the website on the inside. So just take a little mental snapshot of what this looks like, and we're going to see how quickly and drastically we're going to change this, because we're going to configure this website to be a silver layout website. So what we're going to do is we're going to log in. Regardless of what type of site you have, you're going to find that that login button is the upper right-hand corner on all of your sites. So it doesn't matter what site you are, it's upper right-hand corner. So once you're logged in, you're brought to your Goalline control panel. The things we're going to focus on today are, I believe, all going to be found in the website portion of our master menu. I might hop into a league or team menu here and there just to show some of the content management that's available at that level, just to demonstrate the difference between doing it at the master menu versus a league specific menu. So when I click on the website tools, it brings those up to the top here, and it's divided in a couple of sections. We've got our settings and our content, pretty logically delineated here. So this is where I can come to create a news article. I can add files and images. This is an important one. If you ever want to link to a document, or have a link on a page where a person is going to download a document, so view a PDF, for example, or you want to include an attachment in an email announcement, you would add that as a file here, and then you're able to link to it. And I'll show you that tool later. Events can be added here. This is for your event listing. It also adds events to the master schedule if you choose to display that in your menu. The create web page and manage web page options here are pretty self-explanatory. That's where you go to create one, and if you need to edit, delete, or move around any web pages, you would use manage web pages. Add, edit, delete ads, and then add, edit, delete ticker announcements. I don't know if either site currently has a ticker announcement. I think maybe my site might. Yeah, we've got a ticker announcement going across. It's going between the scrolling game center and the front page newsletter. Return to play guidelines is what we have scrolling through there. So that's all kinds of different content areas where you can update things. Site configuration and standard menu settings, these go really hand in hand, and it is important to go through the configuration options and make sure that you have everything that you want to see enabled and disabled. For your gold layout, it is important to go through that. I'll hop over here. So the gold layout in site configuration, this is where you're going to do things like turn on and off those upcoming games and recent results modules from the right-hand side column of your homepage. If you don't want to see upcoming games and practices, you can turn that off from the right sidebar, and then it won't display once you refresh the public side of your site anymore. So you can go through the items in here. In particular, having your upcoming games and recent results in there is a big one that a lot of folks will want to go and make a decision on. Whether or not you're using suspensions is a setting in here as well. The enable suspensions tool, it's in here somewhere. Let me see here. There we go. Enable suspensions. The reason I call this one out, while it has nothing really to do with your web page, when you are using the suspensions tool, there is a public-facing standard menu item related to suspensions that will be displayed in your standard menu settings, and we will see that in a little bit here. If you don't want your the public to see suspensions, but you still need to use it, you can turn it on here, but you would make sure not to place the suspension page in your menu so that it's not accessible by anybody, and only folks with admin access would be able to see the list of anybody who is suspended. I'm going to scroll down and show you just the last a couple of little things related to how you control your league and team default settings. So your league homepage, you have a choice between the league standings, the news, or also the schedule. I apologize, I didn't say that one earlier. Typically, you don't want the league schedule to be the default. Normally, we want the standings to be the default. And then with a team, we normally want that to be the team schedule. In my experience, I find that not a lot of organizations create team-specific news articles. So landing on the news page as a standard, when I click on a team or a league, if you don't create enough news articles, it's just going to say that there's no news to display, and I have to click again to get to the standings. That is probably what I wanted in the first place, or the schedule. So using the default here allows you to control what happens when I click there the first time, and then if someone doesn't want to see the standings, they'll click away and locate what it is that they want. If you are an organization like mine where there is, I have both teams and leagues, so I run some house leagues, but I also have some rep teams. I can choose how I want the divisions item that we're going to look at shortly here to behave. So the default for me is that my divisions is leagues, but if you are more of a club than anything else, and you have more rep teams than you do leagues that you manage, you might want that default to be teams. And this is going to use your menu items, your menu grouping for your teams or your leagues to be the division label. So relating that back to the public side of the website over here, I have my divisions here, and my menu groupings are labeled with the sport. So my menu grouping is called hockey. And when I click on this, I see all of the divisions that are part of hockey. In order for my teams to display, I place my teams item directly in the menu because my leagues are covered by the divisions menu here. Oh, where was I? Over here. Okay. So yeah, the default is likely going to be fine for what you're doing based on how you were onboarded into the system in the first place. But if you find that it's not doing the right thing, you can switch that over here. And then scrolling down, the last thing we'll look at in the gold layout for our site configuration is that this is where you go to create your callout box content. So my left callout is my image upload with text. So I have selected that from the drop down of what type of callout is it. What image do I want? So I would have browsed my computer, selected this file, and uploaded it. And then I am able to use the drop down here to select what it links to. And you'll notice that I can choose from any of my own created web pages and any available standard menu items. So I've chosen for this to be linked to the standard menu item of ref login, so that when people click on the whistle, it's going to take them directly to the referee login. I've added teaser text here, which is why we see the words referee login, and it's superimposed over top of that image. But I don't have to include this teaser text, in which case it would just be the picture of a whistle, and people would click on it and end up on the referee login, even if they didn't know that that's where it was about to take them. As I said, the other options that I have set up in here is I have my RSS feed over here. And if you want an RSS feed, you do need to have the RSS feed address to put in here. The other types that are really popular are upcoming events, scores, which would show recently scored games. Games is going to show upcoming games. Practices would be upcoming practices. Tonight's games are only going to show the games that are today, not just upcoming games. And then featured articles 1, 2, and 3 is exactly what it sounds like. If you have featured articles set here, when you go to create a news article, you're going to see an option to say whether or not it is featured article number 1, 2, or 3. Once you've reviewed your settings here and you've made whatever changes you want, you're going to click Save Configuration, and those changes are going to be reflected immediately on your website. So heading back over to my website, I'm going to go into site configuration and we'll look at this because this is with the silver layout. So instead of being able to scroll down and see those callout box options, I have all the other options in here are exactly the same. But when I come in here, I have this button that says Launch Homepage Customization Tool. This is the tool that I'm going to use to configure the entire layout that I want for my my homepage. As I'm looking through here, it's a preview of the site, which right now is completely a blank slate. We can look at this and see that I don't have a menu yet, but when I hover over the menu area, it does turn dark green. Whatever item has turned dark green is the item you're going to be managing if you click on it. So over here we have this, it says disabled. This is our weather widget. So I can choose to display the weather on the public side of the site if I want to. It's going to default the city to be the city in my organization details. So if that's not quite accurate, you can always update that. So we'll save that and we'll display the weather there. When I hover over this large area, this is so that I can select a background image and I can choose from, there should be one or two available background image options for you based on the sport that your organization is. But otherwise, you can choose your own photo by browsing your computer and uploading a photo. Keep in mind that this photo must be 1,000 pixels wide and 700 pixels tall or larger. It does have to be a very large image so that it can be displayed optimally on all the different devices that the silver layout is designed to optimally display on. Once you've selected your photo and saved that, so I'll click here to use one of these guys. Or maybe not. My computer has had some very interesting, there we go, interesting delays today. I think I've expended most of my computer's memory today. So now we've got our image here. And then when I hover over this area here, it's for news articles. There are no news articles created yet, which is why I don't see any kind of preview here. But what I can do is select anywhere between 1 to 10 articles that will slowly rotate through on there. So I'm going to keep that at 5. I do like the 5 option. The scrolling game center here, I can edit this and disable it if I don't want it to show at all. But if I want it to be there, I'll just leave it enabled. And then here we get down into the drag and drop content modules. So as I mentioned earlier, I can change this to be 2, 3, or 4 callouts. And so as soon as I select that, it's going to adjust them. It's still going to take up the same width and height. It's just going to change the width of each of the individual modules. So as I go from 2 all the way to 4, it's going to take the same space. It's just going to make each of those modules smaller. Depending on how much content you have that you want really close to that top featured image, you might want to have 4 here. It's really up to you and how much content you have. I'm going to go back and we'll select 3. And then below here, we have our 4 rows, 2 each here. So we've got 8 small modules of content here. That is because we're using the 2x4 grid. I can change that to be 4 rows, which would be similar to the way Trevor's demo site is set up over there. So this would be 4 rows. And if I don't have a huge amount of content, maybe that's what I want for my site for now. If you have a lot of content, you may find that the 2x4 grid is better. And as we discuss here, you might find that you have more content than you think you do based on some of the items you have available to select from. So now that we kind of see what we've got available here and what we can change, how you add content is to use the options down here to put items in each of these modules. So if I want the next event instead of recent scores to be showing there, I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag and drop it. And wherever it turns dark green when I let go, now it's going to show me the next event in this module instead of recent results. Upcoming games, I can get to that through the scheduling area here. So there's recent scores and upcoming games, upcoming practices. I can move this module anywhere I want into the available modules. So maybe I want upcoming games to be right up at the top and upcoming practices to be right next to it. And then recent results or recently scored games to be right next to that. So we'll have our upcoming games, upcoming practices, and recent scores there. And that way they're nice and easy to see, easy to find. As I scroll down, we can see that these are already kind of defaulted for news articles, but you can change that to whatever else you want. You can change things and have news articles or, again, the image upload with text option, the RSS feed option, your Twitter feed, a YouTube video, and your Facebook widget can also be placed in here. So you would enter your information here and drag and drop that module into wherever it is that you want that to go. And it's going to pull that information. I didn't put in my actual information there, so it's not going to do anything. I'll find something else to put in there before I click save. Again, in the scheduling section here, upcoming events is different than next event. So you're able to put your upcoming events list in one of these modules as well. So maybe next event I want there, but upcoming events with the list of all the events we have upcoming would be shown there. And then we get into the statistics area. And this is where I always say to people that there might be more content than you realize for your site. Because as you use the Goalline platform to schedule games, report game scores, and report your player statistics, you are automatically starting to compile statistics in the system that can be used to automatically update your league leaders and your points leaders and things like that. This site happens to be baseball. So all of the statistics modules that I'm seeing here are related to baseball. And as I open and expand these, I'm going to see that I can choose from any of the divisions that we have available. Right now, my demo site here has U13 girls and U13 boys for statistics. So if I want to put the batting average leaders for both my girls and boys on my site, I can do that by dragging this into those modules. I'm just going to make a quick change here. I'm going to go back to that 2x4 grid. I think that's a good option for me just for what I want to show you here. So I'm going to use batting average leaders, and I'm going to put the girls here, and I'll put the boys here. I can look at all of the other statistics that are available here too. There's all kinds of other options. So wins leaders, and put the boys in there. And this way, one of the things that I love about doing this is that everything that I've added here to our modules so far is something that will automatically always be fresh content as you use the system. You're scheduling games and practices regularly, you're reporting games and games regularly, and that is going to automatically start compiling all of these things. So every day you come and look at the site, it's going to be up to date based on what you have to kind of be doing on the day-to-day basis anyway. I always recommend trying to use as many modules as you can that do update themselves so that there is always fresh content available. So as I scroll down here, let's see what else could I put in here. So all kinds of statistics available here. Whatever your sport is, your statistics labels are going to be specific to the sport you are. So if you're hockey, you'll see, goals leaders and assist leaders and save percentages and things like that, as opposed to batting averages and whatnot. Scrolling back up here, let's see what else can we put in here. Let's do an image upload with text just to show that one off a little bit. So when I drag and drop this in here, it's going to allow me to choose my photo and I give it a title, give it a URL, which I can type in whatever I want. So if we want this to be goalline.ca, the title is going to be Goalline website, and the image I need to upload. So I can either click on that to browse my computer, or I can drag and drop from my computer and drag a file into here. So let's make that way smaller. Maybe not the best image, but we'll go ahead with that just for today. So I'm going to use this image that I just selected. So now this is going to be my image upload with text, and the rest are going to be news articles, and I'm fine with that for now. So we'll just leave that right as it is. You'll also notice that you can update your contact information to put in your organization, address, and social media information here. When you place your social media here, it's going to automatically display that in the top corner, the top corners of your website up here. So whatever you link those to is going to show up over there. I guess I should mention that the gold layout does also have the option for you to have your social icons listed there, but you can just reach out to the Goalline support team and we'll add them in on our end, and it will show up on here as soon as we've added those. All right, so our site still looks like this if you recall. So we haven't saved anything yet, and I'm kind of excited to save some stuff here. So I am going to click to publish my changes. Before I do that, if I want to review what I've done so far, you can click on View Changes, and it kind of shows everything that you changed in the session that you're working on. So I made a lot of changes to all of these different things. So that's just me looking at what is it that I did in this session. If I don't click the Publish button, those changes, it's as if nothing ever happened. They're not going to be reflected anywhere. But I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. So that has saved the public side of the site. So now if I go over here and we refresh our layout, we're going to see, boom, very, very different look here. Still some things that we don't have. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of content here, but now we can see the shape of the page that we're creating. So we don't have anything in our menu. We don't have any news articles or web pages. So let's go and look at how we're going to go and create that kind of content. So when I come out here, I'm going to go right back to the website section. And let's first create a news article. Generally, Goalline is going to create an article for you that will probably say something like "Welcome to Goalline," or the official site of whatever your organization name is. That could be what you might see. So, "Welcome to Goalline" is going to be the name of our article. The publish date does have to be filled in. This doesn't get filled in by default, and that's because you could be creating an article that's published in the future. If you do want it to be published today, you want to make sure that you select a date that's on or before today's date. The publish time is always going to default to 12 a.m. in whatever time zone your site is set up to be in. I happen to be in Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, so I'm in the Atlantic time zone, and so is my site. If you are in Manitoba, you're going to find that this is going to be in the central time zone. So this is always going to be in your time zone. The expiry date is completely optional. You don't have to put this at all. But if you do put in an expiry date, that article will no longer be available after that expiry date. Article publishing options is I can choose whether or not I want that date to be displayed. The article listed at the top and is not really relevant anymore. That would only be relevant to a standard layout site. And then pushing article to league and team news feeds. This is relevant. And what happens here is this article is not just shown on team and league feeds, but it's pushed to the kind of the top on those league news feeds. And so what we're referring to there is when I select one of these divisions, if I click on league news, it's going to show me that news article here. But it's not going to be available to delete from that league menu like other news articles would be. So it's a way for you at the top level of your organization to make sure that all of your league pages are going to have this news article in the newsfeed. Here's where you include your photo. There are some dimensions and sizing requirements there. So you want to browse your computer for a photo that's appropriate. If you've created other news articles, your previous photos that you've used for news articles can be reused here. So this goes back to what I said way earlier in the webinar, that when you have a news article, if you have an image that you can use with your news articles that will avoid this generic news article photo, you can certainly add that in there and then just continue to reuse that same image as opposed to having to upload it numerous times. But obviously you can upload a new photo each and every time. Your article summary is exactly what it sounds like. You can include it or not. If you don't include it, you should select to leave the article summary blank. And then the content of your article goes in here. The content can be edited the same way as all of our other content areas within Goalline can be edited using what we call the Wysiwyg Editor, which just is a fun way to say what you see is what you get. So you use the editor options available here, which are all very similar to other word processing systems, and you can insert images, links, format them however you'd like, and that type of thing. So you create your article here. So I'm just going to repeat, welcome to the official Little League demo site on Goalline. I can choose here that I do want it to be published. And then I do want it to be on the news slider, but I don't have to allow it to go onto the news slider. And then I can add a signature here. If I'm going to choose to email it out using the email announcement form here below, I would probably want to add an email signature, or my default signature would be there based on my website admin profile. If you are creating a news article that you also want to send as an email to basically make a newsletter, you can check off all of your recipients here. So you would check off things like players, parents, and coaching staff, anybody signed up on your email subscription list, anybody else who's a website administrator like yourself. And when you're making those selections, you would select who are we sending this to? So we're selecting players, parents, and coaches, but which ones? So I can choose either all assigned or all unassigned or both. So I can use the control key here, or I think it's the command key if you're using an Apple device. Or I can say that this really is only relevant to the U13 girls category or boys category, and just send this to all of these people who are assigned in this division. When you want to send a generic announcement to everyone, you're going to want to always select the all assigned and unassigned options that I have selected here. When I go to create this article, I don't have any recipients that are going to match that category, but I'm going to click to create the article. And then it's going to provide me with a little bit of an email summary of what was sent out as an email based on my selections that I had created. So that's, we've just created a news article and sent it out as an email. So now as we go to the public side here, we can refresh. Here's our news article right away. And if we scroll down to that first news article module down here, we can see it right here. So the next article I create will go here too. This one will bump down here. And then again, it'll keep bumping out and then become part of your news archive. If you don't create a lot of news articles, they won't move around too much, but just know that when you do select or create a new news article, it will continue pushing them and just kind of snaking them through your modules until they've been bumped off of the homepage due to how many articles you have available. So that is the news article option. Go back to website over here, add, edit, delete events. Very, very similar in the sense that we have a title, we have a date, start and end time. You don't have to include a start and end time, but you do have to include a date. And then the description can be edited in the same way as our news articles, using all of these different web editing options in here. You'll notice that the area that you have to configure an event is a little bit different than a news article. And it's again going to be different than what we'll see when we look at ads or web pages. And that's because of the space that they display themselves in when you're looking at them on the public side of the site. So if we have an AGM coming up on October 31st, it's going to start at 5 p.m. and it's going to end at 8 p.m. AGM at the facility. Bring your notebook. Whatever else you might want to say. And then published yes or no. Again, you can email this out, so you don't have to create events and then send a separate email about the fact that there's an event. You can do that all at once. When you save that, it's automatically going to start showing those events on your site. So we now have an event. So if we go back over here, let's refresh again. And we can see here that we have a next event because we have an AGM coming up. And if I click go, it's going to take me to the event page that I configured ever so full of details right here. Going back to that homepage again, we can see our upcoming events is here as well. And this would be showing a list of all the events as we start creating more and more events. And again, I click on it, it's going to take me to the event page that I would have configured. So that is events. Back to our website here. Web pages, I'm going to click manage. No, actually, I have to create one first. I always recommend that the very first web page you create is about us or about our organization or who we are, whatever makes sense to you and the way that you like to talk about your organization. Because as I said way earlier, it's a great way for you to be able to organize your content when you have a web page that you can tuck things under. But it's also something that a lot of folks are going to just look for on your site if they're trying to figure out whether whether or not they want to be part of your programming. They might want to see what your vision is and your mission statement. And so About Us is a pretty popular web page to use. So maybe you want to put your mission, your vision, your meet the team information, maybe some sponsor stuff, whatever content you want to have on here. As you configure your web page, which again, notice how it's a different shape and size, but it is exactly the same as all the rest for how you manage things. So this could be a page that just links out to other things. And so you can put in all kinds of URLs in there. So I should put www. There we go. You can link things, and that's not how you spell vision either. So let's correct that. All right. So now that we've got some content here, we'll go down and look at the placement option. So the placement option is directly related to the type of menu that you have. So the option, the default option is top menu, first row, also top menu, second row. You can also choose not to display this in your menu at all. That does not prevent it from being viewed online. It just prevents it from being part of your menu that someone navigates to. I'm going to select top menu first row because the purpose of my About Us page, I want it to be that that page in the topmost menu that I have with all the relevant stuff that I think people are going to look for. Once I save this, we're going to be able to create another web page. So I'm going to create another web page right away here and say our, let's see here, I put caps lock on, our staff. I'm not going to put any content in here yet because I don't have any content, but I want to place it in the menu. And now that I have a web page, I can choose to place this as a sub page of About Us. So instead of placing it directly in the menu, I'm going to place it in the About Us sub menu. So when I save this, that's going to happen for us automatically here as well. So let's head over here and refresh because I think we'll see a drastic difference now. Boom, now we've got a menu going on up here. About Us is here and our staff is showing right away as a subpage. So when I click on About Us, it's going to show me the content that was configured there. You can always access the subpages using the menu button that appears right above, but I can also just navigate directly to that by clicking it from the menu when I hover over About Us. Now that we've managed a couple of web pages, I'm just going to show you over here. Actually, I'm going to come back to this one. I apologize. I don't mean to jump around, but I'm going to come back to that. The next thing we'll look at for content is how to create an ad. The ad space, again, just different shape and size, but managed exactly the same. What I typically recommend with ads is that you create an ad title. These are all only seen on the back end, so it's not publicly shown what the title of the ad is. So it could be like if you have a sponsor that is, coffee shop sponsor #1, I can put in here, insert an image. Is kind of the typical way. When I go to insert an image, the first thing I have to do here is browse server. Don't get scared about what's going on here with this Latin content. That's pretty popular in the coding world. So we're going to click browse server. If you don't have any images in here yet, like I don't, it says the folder is empty. So I have this upload button and I'm just going to upload a photo from my computer. So let's see here. Yeah, why not? So I uploaded this, and now to use it, I just have to double click. And I can update the sizing of it if I want to, but I just insert my image that way. If I want this image to link to a sponsor, I'm going to click on it to highlight it, and then I'm going to select the link option. And again, we're going to go to whatever URL it is that you want that to go to. With ads and most links that are not directly within your Goalline site, I always recommend that you select the target tab as well. Using the target tab, there's a few different options. The one that says new window bracket _ blank. This is the one that is going to open that link in the same browser window, but in a new tab. So this is my favorite choice to always select. Using the other options, you certainly can, but using this option here is probably the most popular and the most familiar to folks. So we're going to select this. So we've got a sponsor title here. We've got an image and a hyperlink. Now when I scroll down, I'm going to see where can I place this. I have 2 divisions and I have all of these general association pages that everyone's going to have a listing of. If I want it to be placed everywhere, I just check the box to make it go everywhere. But if I don't, I can make it so that it's only going to be shown on certain pages. When you have sponsors that are sponsoring certain things or certain divisions, you can get pretty granular. So if this sponsor is sponsoring my standings, all of my standings, I can go and say that this ad is going to show up whenever you're looking at the U13 girls or boys standings page, but it's not going to show up when you're looking at the schedules page or statistics page. Let's go ahead and make it on the standings and statistics page just for fun, and also put it on, let's say, the executive listing. So when I go to preview this, I'm going to say right away, this looks really, really messy, and I do apologize for that. However, all you got to do here is click the button that says Post Ad to Website, and it will save the ad and place it on the site for you. So if we go over here, we've got that placed in a couple of areas. I don't have my menu configured yet so that we can't navigate to it. I'm going to go right back in there and just put it on my home page. Let's do that just to make it easier to see. All right, so home page. And again, because I'm making changes to the placement, I'm just going to click the same thing. So this it says post ad to website. Really what that should say is save. But there we go. Now we've got that. And now here is where that ad is going to show up right away. So in real time, we've got that. It's a hyperlink. When I click it, it opens the goalline.ca webpage in a new tab in my browser. Heading back into the website function here, the last thing we'll show in the content section is the ticker announcement. This is useful for things like an emergency announcement, like fields are closed today, everything's rained out, or the rink has no electricity, so all the games are canceled. So you can put in whatever makes sense to you. A lot of times people will say like registration, announcement details, opening soon, stuff like that. There's all kinds of different ways that you can do that. So I'm going to click add. Now that I have a ticker announcement, I can then make it so that it's no longer currently displayed and just hit edit to save that change, or I can delete it altogether. A lot of folks will have a ticker announcement about things like power outages or rainouts, depending on your sport, obviously, that you'll either display and not display as needed. So it's rather than have to type things in again. You can have more than one ticker announcement going through at the same time. I don't generally recommend having more than one or having ticker announcements that have a lot of content. If you have a lot of content to get out, you definitely should be creating a news article. And then your ticker announcement should be more calling attention to the article. So that's our ticker announcement. Now that we've got one of those, let's go ahead and refresh again. So we've got our bar coming across here and we see our ticker announcement right away. Back out to website. We're going to look at standard menu settings. Standard menu settings is going to take into account a lot of the things that we have configured through site configuration, along with what you have available as far as leagues and or rep teams. So if you don't have both, you won't see both options to place in a menu. But if you do have both, you will see both options to put in the menu. And I'll compare a little bit to what we see when we're looking at at a different site, just to make sure that you're, not crazy when you're looking at something that you're not sure if it's the right thing or not. So standard menu settings is going to list for you the Goalline standard items that are part of your website. These are automatically going to be here, and then as you start managing your system and getting everything set up, more things may pop up here because, as I said, if you don't have teams, you don't have teams to display. If you don't have any divisions set up, you won't have any divisions to display. But what you do see is each item and whether or not you want it placed in that top menu first row or second row. not displayed in the menu at all, or placed below a web page. This is why I always say it's important to start creating at least that one About Us page before you try to finish managing your website, because this is how you're going to decide how you want your menu to behave. News archives is a great one to place under About Us. The executive listing is also one that might be great to place in About Us. Um, the rest of these things maybe have their own place in the menu. So let's put standings in our top menu first row. I want my venue listing to be in the top menu second row. I don't have any registration forms right now, so we're just going to leave that alone. I want master schedule, and I want the events to be listed. So when I go to save this now, it's going to save that and then allow me the opportunity to reorder from left to right my menu items. This takes into account as well any web pages that I've already created. So now that we've made some changes there, let's go look. Now we have a much fuller menu available. So the standings here is going to take us to the default standings here. I only just started this demo site, so I don't actually have a schedule set up for the boys, which is why the girls is the only option that we see available here. But as I start adding these items to my menu, I start impacting the navigation of how people are going to get to what they want. When I click on events, it's going to take me to the event listing, and I can again click into that event description. Clicking on venues is going to automatically show me the venues that have been added to the system. These are the playing surfaces that we use to schedule our games and practices. The master schedule, I like to point out, the master schedule is not at all where you would recommend players and parents go to look at their schedules. The master schedule is an aggregation of all the schedules, including team and association-wide events. So it's going to show every game, every practice, every event. You can drill down when you have more things to choose from. You can drill down on certain divisions and certain teams, but really it's basic, and you're just looking at either a month, a day, or a date range, and you're clicking to view that schedule. So if I look at everything from October to November and view the schedule, I'm not going to see a whole lot because I only have just one game and one event listed here. And then from here, again, I can click that details to get right back to that event detail. So when you're creating the content for your site, there's all kinds of different areas where you're going to go in and actually create that content. Back into that standard menu settings just one more time to show you that you can change the labels that are used for all of those standard menu items. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. I apologize. So you can change the label. A big example that I always use is that news archives. I don't like the way that sounds. So when I come in here, instead of calling it news archives, I want this to just be news. And instead of news archives, I want it to be news in the menu so that it's not seeming like it's old all the time. So now that I've made that adjustment, as I hover here, I'm gonna get my, sorry, my menu is a little messy. I'm going to go back to standard menu settings for a second here. Another example where people will often update the labels is in things like the master schedule or executive. Executive is a really popular one to update because a lot of folks, instead of, you don't necessarily have to have an executive. Maybe you have a board of directors, or maybe you have a committee. So whatever your association calls your governing group, that's what you can put in here. So Goalline uses the term executive, but this could be, board or committee. Let's put committee, like the two M's, two T's, two E's. So we'll save that title in there. Saving the title as something else does not change what it is. And that's important to know as well, because if I change the news article to call it divisions, it's still going to be a link to the news article listing. So be careful with relabeling your menu items, making sure that you're not changing them too much so that it doesn't end up being what the user expected to see. All right, so that actually covers our webinar today. I just want to make sure that we've run through a little bit of everything. So we've talked about the two different layout options of silver and gold and kind of the differences in managing the two. We looked at all of the menu options that you have available, your standard menu settings along with your site configuration, the site homepage configuration tool, how to create ads, how to create all that different types of content for your site. So we went from having a website that was really, really basic to having one that now has all kinds of content on it. And as soon as we start doing things with our divisions, we're going to start seeing the rest of it all kind of populate itself. So if I try to report a game, for example, let's see, I don't think I have. Okay, we don't have any schedule details in there yet. That's a big deal. There we go. Let's see if I can report this real quick, just to show how quick and easy that will start to show up on the there we go. So this is just asking me for a simple score entry. I could be asked to do like a full individual statistics reporting here. So I've reported this game over here now. So now that we've reported a game, we have a score showing in our scrolling game center. We also have recent scores here because we now have a game that has been reported. But because we didn't do any individual stats, we're not going to see any movement in our leaders. So as long as you are tracking individual stats, that's a great option to choose. If you saw anything in today's webinar that you don't see on your own website, or you saw a layout today that you're interested in more than the layout that you have, definitely reach out to the Goalline support team. They can be reached easily at goallinesupport@stacksports.com. But you can also go to goalline.ca and get in touch with our sales team and reach out to us that way. Check out our YouTube channel for any webinars that might be relevant to the way you manage your organization. And thank you so much for joining. And if you're watching this later on over the Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada, happy Turkey Day. Thanks so much. And you guys have yourself a great day.